Okay, hello and welcome to our Fall 2013 Document Management webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert and we are here today for one of the final sessions in the series, our Document Management Vendor Shootout. It has been a busy fall for us in terms of webcasting. We've had some really great sessions on a range of topics related to AP automation, e-billing, enterprise content management, all from Microsoft Dynamics. If you missed any of these sessions, I suggest you go back to the msdynamicsworld.com webcast section and seek them out. They're all available on demand, and I'll be posting a link in the chat in just a moment where you can find more on that. We, of course, couldn't run this series without our sponsors, and I want to thank them for being a part of it. Today, they will be presenting on their vision for document management in the dynamic space. We have presenters on the line from Esker, Perceptive Software, and Metafile. Each presenter will have 15 minutes, and we'll begin in just a moment. We invite you to ask questions during using the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the slides, and we'll get to as many questions as we can at the end of the session. So, without further delay, please allow me to introduce our first speaker, and that is Achint Sehgal from Esker. Achint, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Achint.
Hi, my name is Achint Sehgal, and I'm going to start presenting right now. All right. Hello again, my name is Achint, and I'm a sales engineer with Esker in Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome to this presentation, leveraging a best of the suite solution for document automation in Microsoft Dynamics. All right. Well, hello again, and welcome to the presentation. Like I said, my name is Achint, and I'm a sales engineer with Esker in Madison, Wisconsin. And I'll be talking about leveraging a best-of-the-suite solution for document automation in Microsoft Dynamics. And let me start by addressing the point of a best solution. You know, our view at Esker is that the most effective way to handle all of these IT challenges that we see in document automation and the business requirements is to have a unified set of automation capabilities that brings everything together you need for various business processes that run on documents. And if you take a look around the circle that you can see and see the different types of technology that's needed to solve these challenges, you'll see, you know, the delivery of documents, the technology needed to move them back and forth, like fax and email, different document formats, capturing of information from these documents, validating that information, and on the output side, being able to format these documents and ultimately being able to store them. And, you know, without needing all those point-to-point solutions that you would need for each of these technologies, you can actually free up your IT, your finance, and your customer service teams from tasks that really drain the budget and take away the time for more valuable work. And simultaneously, at the same time, you can actually save hours of time so that these people can be redeployed to new projects or value-added tasks. And, you know, why one single platform? How does a single unified platform allow us to gain efficiencies? If you look horizontally on this diagram, you're going to see a lot of different and specific type of technology that's used to interconnect or integrate smoothly. So again, you know, on the inbound side, being able to leverage fax servers, being able to capture data using OCRs or ICR modules, being able to route these documents between different people for a workflow, archiving these documents at the end of the process itself. And again, on the output side, you know, formatting these documents, processing those forms, outputting different kinds of formats like EDI or XML, and, you know, again, server outputs like fax outputs or printing or sending out even paper mail. And being able to use them either on demand or being able to use these technologies on premise under one single hood. So, these technologies are combined under a single hood and being integrated by one single vendor, which will then allow you to have greater visibility into all of these processes and ease of using them together. Versus, using what's happening in the world today, where what organizations see is having companies facing multiple vendors, some connecting with each other, some not connecting with each other, and incurring higher overall costs in trying to interconnect these vendor portals or trying to interconnect the technologies that they're using, and not actually receiving the value from what would be true integration. And in this entire process, managing different vendors for different technologies or processes, you're also incurring a total higher cost of ownership. So those are the two sides, being able to use a unified product versus being able to use, different vendors for that same process. And we know that, businesses do run on documents. Esker works with many companies to automate processes throughout the cash conversion cycle, the order to cash and procure to pay. What we see is that there's an enormous value in removing paper from these critical document processes. So on the side of electronic purchasing, where you're actually selling paper documents, also on the accounts payable side, where you're receiving vendor invoices via paper, on the accounts receivable, where you're sending out paper, or on the sales order processing side, where again you're getting these documents via paper. And from the Esker perspective, to help our customers quit paper, we offer one single platform that allows us to automate all of these processes, and that helps generate so much of paper already. And you can leverage that platform as either an on-premise server or as an on-demand software as a service approach. So, we've seen multiple processes that utilize paper. And while our platform is capable to automate any of these manual document process, let's specifically talk about the accounts payable because of the limited time that we have here, and also because it seems to be a big challenge these days, especially from the small and the medium-sized businesses that I've been hearing from lately. So let me focus on the accounts payable part of the entire cycle. And I'm going to review the steps that are taken during a typical inbound invoice process. The process that I describe here is for a typical commercial invoice that was generated from a purchase order issued by a company. Now, this process does change depending on the type of invoice that you receive, and whether it's a PO or a non-PO generated invoice. But for the sake of simplicity, we'll just focus on a typical PO invoice for now. And in the basic accounts payable process, you're receiving the invoice, in most cases through snail mail, which is the postal network. And once the invoice is received, someone has to physically open that mail and determine where the payable needs to go, which may be through an approval process as well. And then someone has to take that invoice information into AX or any other Microsoft ERP, so that it can be paid. And to make sure that the goods were received, the person has to go to another person who ordered these goods and to make sure that they actually got the goods or the services that were requested and that you were satisfied with them. And manager approval may be required even if the invoice has not been approved for payment, or if it's over a certain dollar amount. And then, in many cases, the invoice is archived, typically in a file cabinet. And many companies have entire rooms filled with file cabinets, and they're storing paper invoices and related documents. And all of this storage takes up a lot of space, and at the end of the process, if you need to retrieve them at a later stage, it's a difficult process to do that. So in this entire process, who is feeling the pain? Is it only the accounts payable person, who has to sit down, manually deal with paper and key in these invoices that's experiencing this pain, or is it other people? And we see, across the board, there's different levels of pain that people experience in the entire process. A manual vendor invoice doesn't just it doesn't just make life a little harder for that AP specialist. It actually affects a whole range of other roles in that company. So let's take a look at this chart. And if I start from the top, the CFOs are actually looking at the bottom line of their company, and they're seeing a waste of money on the entire process. The cost of a manual accounts payable process is just too high, and they're looking at different ways to maximize the return on investment for the company. And when they see a non-revenue generating activity that is depleting fiscal resources for the company, they are going to look really hard for something to reduce that cost impact of that activity. And in this case, it's accounts payable. Now, moving upstream, we can see that the buyers in that company are also affected by an inefficient accounts payable process because they cannot leverage any cash discounts on lower supply costs. And the accounts payable department could receive these if they were able to pay on the purchases early, but now they cannot in a manual process. And the accounts payable department itself is affected, especially when they're trying to respond to inquiries from their suppliers. They're trying to track down paper invoices that could be sitting in a file cabinet somewhere. And it's a waste of their time and a waste of that AP personnel resource as well. And also, again, at the higher level, the CEO is pretty much in the same boat as the CFO on this. They're both seeing the higher capital and the material costs, and they obviously want to alleviate that expense. It is true that the accounts payable department is not likely to be a revenue generator, but it should not be draining the company's resources as much as it could be with a manual paper process. So that's the CEO's concern. And again, on the supplier side, the most businesses want to work with a company that actually does pay its bills on time and it pays them correctly. And if an invoice is lost and unpaid, that supplier is suffering as well. So let's look at an automated overview of this process. We talked earlier about a basic AP process. The invoice arrives, usually through the postal network, etc. Well, just like the sales order processing solution, the accounts payable automation technology actually captures data such as the vendor number, the purchase order number, and due date for routing and indexing when a fax, email, or paper or electronic invoice arrives. And there's no predefined templates needed here. The solution actually checks the extracted data to determine if the invoice is with a PO or without a PO. In the case of a PO invoice, the solution can pull information from the ERP application and compare what is on the invoice with that PO. And if there's a perfect match, the solution is capable of automatically sending the transaction in a touchless fashion through to AX. And for invoices that do not match up with the purchase order, the solution can perform the necessary exception handling, such as checking to see if the invoice is a duplicate, if there are any discounts that can be applied for a fast payment, or if this invoice needs to go through an approval process. Now, coding may be done either inside or outside the accounting department at this stage. If any additional approval is required, the invoice can be transferred through the office electronically so that you know exactly where it is in the approval process, and it gets to the correct people to get the necessary approvals to generate the information AX and to book the payment as quickly as possible. Now, throughout the entire process, whether the invoice is with or without PO, the solution is attaching the information inside AX. And whatever archiving solution you use, whether it's built-in or a separate archive, the invoice data and document can be electronically transferred to that with a link back into AX for quick retrieval. And there's a complete audit trail of each of the steps that happen in this entire process. so that you have the ability to produce a complete audit trail and take a look at what took place with the document that came in, and use the built-in reporting capabilities to access that information. Now, today, virtually every company that I talk to can see the value of eliminating manual accounts payable processing to gain these efficiencies that automation brings. If anybody was not convinced, the recent economy and its effect on costs is enough to erase that doubt. The AP function has definitely evolved from a back office cost center to a strategic target for process improvement and initiatives like these. Interestingly enough, the industry analysts have reported as much as 80% of AP processing time is spent on routing vendor invoices. And companies that have not automated need too many people to run around and make sure they get the necessary sign-offs and approve payment of invoices. And it's a huge time waster and results in lost invoices and late payments.
1 minute.
So, okay. And let's take a look at this list, and it gives us an idea of the common motivators that companies are using to justify automating their AP process. And a little bit about the document automation in cloud. If anybody's worried about their sensitive financials, there is actually built-in security for the physical and the environmental safeguards. There's logical security, and there's application development and change management, which assures that the Esker on-demand solution are authorized, the supports authorization, testing, and implementation. And again, there's constant monitoring and reporting on that. And here's a quick overview of Esker. We have been recognized in the industry by different partners, and we are a key player in the market for automation solutions with a background of 26 years of practical experience. And we do have patents on core technologies that allow us to be a pioneer in the software as a service field. And it's not new to us. We've been doing it for 8 years.
We are at time.
All right, and that's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, our next presenter is going to be Jason Peterson from Perceptive Software. Jason, I'm going to give you control now.
All right. Everybody hear me all right?
I can hear you, and I see your slides coming up now.
All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Peterson. I'm from Perceptive Software. I manage a select number of partners in the Microsoft ecosystem. I am a partner account manager. I have been with Perceptive since 2004, most of the time in the direct sales role. Knowing the amount of time I have today, I want to give you a good overview of our organization, some of the solutions we have, and then please encourage you to take down my contact information at the end for additional questions that we may have and follow up. But real briefly, a quick background on us. We are an organization in the enterprise content management sector, defined by the Gartner ECM quadrants, if you will. We are one of the largest ECM providers in the world. We'll talk a little bit more about what ECM is and how we really take a focus at technologies that help automate processes and manage content, but we do it in a way that complements your existing ERP investments, your AX, your GP, your NAV, and SL environments, as well as CRM. We are headquartered out of the Midwest, Shawnee, Kansas, and we are owned by Lexmark Corporation. They acquired us in 2010. They have really invested in software technologies as of late. We've acquired a few other organizations that we'll discuss as well, really to enhance our technologies for content and process automation. We are, as I mentioned, one of the top 10 ECM providers in the world. We are growing at over a 35% rate year over year, where the industry is growing about 8 to 10%. And one of the things that we're very proud of here in our organization is that we have moved up into the leader quadrant this year on Gartner's quadrant. We do have many customers across many different verticals and industries. As I mentioned in the previous slide, 3,500 customers in 50 different countries. But we have an extremely scalable product where we have organizations that may have 50 employees using our technology to automate AP, HR, contracts management, but we also have Fortune 100 customers using our technology across your enterprise in multiple departments. the focus of our organization and our technologies is really to fulfill this mission statement. We bridge the gap between your enterprise applications and the processes and the information that they don't manage, giving you the visibility and control needed to improve your financial performance, reduce your corporate risk, and ensure future flexibility. And as I mentioned, we really take the focus that we know your investments within your ERP systems is where a lot of the business transactions happen. That is the core of your business, the intelligence of your organization. And we really look at our technologies and break them down into two different groups: content management technologies and process management technologies. But we apply these technologies in a way where your end users can seamlessly leverage them within the same context that they're used to, whether it be AX, GP, NAV, or SL. The solutions that we have, and I'll touch a little bit more on them at the end of the presentation, and this slide is a little intimidating, but we break our technologies down into 5 different categories, so this is a very product-focused slide. When we start looking at solutions for AP automation or HR contracts, they'll use a variety of different components that you see here. The categories that we have what make up what we call our Perceptive platform. We have capture technologies, which you would think about as how are we getting documents into our system, whether it's scanning from a physical scanner, mobile capture, e-forms. We also acquired a technology. Brainware was the organization that provides intelligent capture solutions where we actually can extract data and feed an AP process, really for the idea of being able to have a touch-free process. I can talk a little bit more about that as well. In the content category, we start thinking about technologies like what can we do with the content once we've captured it? Can we electronically sign it? Can we manage a retention policy for that document? Our process category is going to talk through technologies like document-centric workflow and data mining, process modeling. In the search category, one of the big items here is being able to search across your enterprise, being able to have access to content from multiple repositories, whether it's within a Perceptive repository or a SharePoint repository or a network directory. We're able to organize and manage all that content that allow your users to access it through a single interface. And then on the far right-hand side, you'll see that we have a product line called Interact, and that's where we've really strategically aligned with Microsoft to go to market with them and built out-of-the-box configurations or product interfaces within the AX platform, within the CRM platform, within SharePoint, and so on. All of these technologies, from a product standpoint, can be delivered on-premise or via the cloud as well. To simplify our approach, we really, again, try to streamline the process for the end user, putting the content in context so they have access to the right content when they need it within the specific transaction or within the business application they're working from. We do that a number of different ways. We really built our company around a product tool set we call Learn Mode, and we have a United States patent on this technology, but it's a tool set that allows us to integrate to any application. This is the tool that we use for Great Plains, GP, NAV, SL, and also any custom applications that you may have internally. And it's one of the biggest compliments we get from our customers is the usability of our product, where they can stay focused, but again, no matter what application they're using throughout their enterprise, the user experience stays the same. Where they navigate to the system-generated icon, you'll see this little gold ball, and if I'm going to look for content that may solve a question that I have. Let's say I'm in customer service and I need a packing slip based on my user role and my security access. I click on that button, and the document I need is right there at my fingertips when I need it. In the case of that question I may be fielding, I may need quick access to the invoice that's associated with the packing slip and then the check that paid that invoice. The point, again, is bringing all that content into the right context for the end user so they can readily address the situation. So again, this technology, we do have many customers that use it with Solomon, or SL, NAV, and GP. This is the integration method and something that we have leveraged for a number of years in the space. When we start looking about the investment in the strategic alignment that we have with Microsoft, we've actually built some deeper level integrations within the platform. So when we start looking at front office operations where I'm managing opportunities and creating contracts, we have technologies to create that type of contract. We can also route it out for electronic signature via our workflow. We can check in, check out, and version control directly within Office. You'll see our ribbon integration here within Office. If I didn't point it out here in CRM, you'll see this is our integration within the CRM opportunity. Within Outlook, if I'm wanting to manage correspondence or collect correspondence to active projects that may exist in AX, or CRM, I can simply drag and drop into the interface here. Same with AX. And the idea here is now that we can store one piece of content within our repository, but allow our users to access and collect that content through all these different interfaces. We have mobile applications as well, as we start looking at more and more folks out in the field and on the road, and mobile becoming more of your daily life. We have applications that can extend the content to those reaches, as well as our integrations with SharePoint. As I mentioned, there's going to be content across everybody's organization in multiple locations. Obviously, we want to federate before we consolidate, but be able to still access the content you need, whether it's within our system or whether it's in a different repository. So the first part of the presentation there was really focusing at a high level of content. I talked briefly about the product platform that we have without getting into too much detail. But the idea here, again, is to help manage all the content within your organization, but also now start automating different processes. The previous presentation that you saw really was talking specifically around AP. We have, again, invested a lot in our technology to embrace user configuration versus customization. So we've engineered our product with tools that allow you to set up workflows, allow you to expand the product and integrations into multiple areas on your own without necessarily having to rely on an outside organization to bring that. This visual really helps paint that picture when you start thinking whether it's an invoice process or an order process or an onboarding process in HR or a contract review. But again, the best practice capture early and often at the point of creation if possible, or the point of receipt. Get it behind the security of our product or a product so you can manage and really reduce the risk of that visibility of the document. Briefly touching on solutions we provide, obviously AP is one of them we talked about. Again, we have technologies that can really pave the way for straight-through invoice processing, scanning invoices, extracting information. If everything's matching with PO and there's no exceptions, we can have it directly loaded into AX, GP, NAV, or SL. We have HR solutions. These are solutions that are highly repetitive when we start thinking about all the horizontal solutions we provide, AP, HR, contracts management, and so on. But we also have a number of verticals that we go into, so managing mortgage processing, loan processing, maybe a banking sector, or various healthcare processes, managing clinical workflows. But again, our technology is very adaptable to a variety of document-driven processes, but we have experience delivering all these different specific vertical solutions as well. I encourage you to hit to our website. It's www.perceptivesoftware.com. On the Solutions tab, you'll see a variety of solutions where you can see self-running demonstrations, overviews, and documentation around our technologies and solutions that we have. As well. Who could tell I had a lot of caffeine today? But I made up some time here, and I think we're back at the 11:30 mark. And I appreciate your time today, and looking forward to the Q&A session.
All right, thanks so much, Jason. I will grab control back from you here, and I will now introduce our next speaker. That is Steve Gregory from Metafile. And Steve, let me open up your line.
There we go. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great.
Floor is yours.
Hope everybody's doing well today. Can you see the slides?
I can, yes.
Okay, great. Well, guys, today another document management solution that we'll be talking about, and you've heard about two great products already. And feel free to reach out to all of us so we can sort of give you a better understanding of what our offering is doing. The 15 minutes is just sort of a high level to help you guys understand there. So I'm going to go through the same process. Take down my information as well. Please ask questions. Schedule a one-on-one. Go to our YouTube channel. Go to our website. They're on demands. We do monthly webinars for 3 of the 4 Microsoft Dynamics products. Right now we don't have one for SL, but the other 4, but we do work with all 4 of those product lines. And today I'm going to talk a little bit differently. I'm going to talk more about, almost our go-to-market strategy, which we're calling our fast-track implementation. okay? So is what we're able to do now is very quickly help you guys get an AP automation solution at a very reasonable price in a very quick time frame. Now, this is the full metaviewer product. It is an enterprise-wide solution, so it does help areas of not just AP, but HR, AR, contract management, really anywhere where you have a paper-intensive environment. And we've been doing this for 30-plus years. But with our fast track implementation here, you can get full OCR and you can get that delivered in 30 days. Now, there may be what we call unique and additional requirements that you may need to have happen prior to actually going live, but you're going to be able to start using the metaviewer solution very quickly, so then you can make a very good decision as an organization of, do we still want to continue these processes, or do we want to change our processes based on what we're actually able to do with metaviewer when it comes to the AP automation. So I really want to emphasize on how quickly we can get that in there, and that we're going to be able to do it at a very reasonable price as well, depending on your volume. That 30K will go up or down really depending on your transactional volume of how many invoices you have coming into the system on a monthly basis. But, you know, we're going to help you guys get more efficient. We're going to help you eliminate data entry, you know, have full automation through the process so your workflow is going on. We are a web-based application, so you don't have to install a full desktop on anybody's client or any of your individual users' desktops there. So very good product, been around a long time, but I really want to emphasize what that fast track looks like, okay? So with that, I'm going to get into, this is what we call our big picture slide, okay? It's going to talk about the 4 pillars that we have from metaviewer that we're going to help you guys move through as an organization to get AP automation going. The first thing is we're a SQL environment, so everything's running on SQL. Nice thing there is if you guys have people in your organization that understand SRS or SQL reporting services, you're going to be able to pull and gather information and report on that, okay? The nice thing also with metaviewer, when you purchase the base product, you're getting full text indexing of electronic documents, and you get the ability to store all electronic documents in your entire organization. So even though you're looking at AP automation, let's say you have HR documents you want to store, you have AR documents you want to store, you have just contracts you need to store. You can go ahead and get those into metaviewer, and you can store those as a part of the base system. We don't really care how much you're storing, as long as you have the space to go ahead and store those documents. So please keep that in mind when talking to metaviewer, that you do get storing of as many documents as you need within the base system. So from there, we go into how do we get those documents into the system. Everybody's talked today about capturing those documents and getting them in there. You know, we all have a little bit different ways of going about it. For metaviewer, you know, our preferred method is you capture them electronically. That's going to be the most accurate across the board. We don't have to OCR them then. We're going to be able to get them into the system. We don't move them into an OCR process. We literally cut and paste that information and get that right into metaviewer. Okay, so there's a one-time profile build setup for that. After that, it's automatically going to go right through the workflow. It takes no more than doing data entry once to get a new vendor as a profile built within the metaviewer system. So huge savings of time over huge savings of time. That'll give you. So we have the OCR capabilities. When it comes to paper, you're never going to fully eliminate that. We all understand that. What we can do there is you can either do OCR, so that's bringing it in, scanning it, going through an OCR process, putting it back into a textual environment, and then getting into the metaviewer system. Or you could do, you know, some data validation against the Dynamics database, pull that up, extract as much as you can, and then do a limited amount of data entry. You could also do, you know, manual, you know, metadata entry as well to get that in there. You could use a barcoding process as well. So all organizations work a little bit differently. I just want to emphasize the level of flexibility that we have to work with your organization to make sure that we're doing the best thing for what you need for your processes, okay? You know, with that, so we get that in there. After it's in there, it goes into our workflow process, okay? Depending what ERP system you have, we're going to work with them a little bit differently. They are different applications, so they don't all work the same. But traditionally, we're going to be able to help you with GL coding and capturing that GL grids out of the ERP system and leveraging that in the metaviewer system so you can do the GL coding in metaviewer itself. Also, we can help with the two- and three-way matching when it comes to the PO-based environments. and your full approval would go through that whole entire process as well. The nice thing about that is, instead of maybe having to purchase more users in the ERP system, you might be able to, use them in metaviewer instead. So you're not having to incur that cost of possibly additional users in that ERP system, and you can leverage metaviewer instead because we are standing outside of that ERP system and connecting to it and working with it versus being embedded into the application. The other thing we have is views. So this really gives you maybe visualizations. We happen to call it dashboards. So very quickly, users on the fly can create visualizations into what's going on into their working environment, as well as managers. The nice thing is you're going to be able to very quickly make those business decisions that you need to as an organization because you can see what's going on with those documents at any given time. After that, we go into the retrieval. Pretty self-explanatory for retrieval. It's going and finding documents. Nice thing there is if it is an electronic-based document and stored in metaviewer, we do have that full-text searching capability. Just like Google search, you can search on any word or phrase, and those documents will pull up. Good and bad about that is sometimes you might have too many documents with those words in it. So we do like to have you guys set up some kind of metadata so they're structured associated with that versus just throwing them into a folder and then randomly searching for them under a full-text environment. So putting some structure there, storing them, and then retrieving them at a later date. The other thing we do is we put a button on the windows within the dynamic solutions. So you can actually click on that button and it'll pull up the related document that populated that information in the specific ERP system. The nice thing about that is you're not having to go back and forth and trying to find that information at a later date. So after that, since we are a completely web-based solution, we're able to give external people information internally. So in other words, we can give vendors access to where their invoices are in the process. We found that by doing that, it gives them the proactive approach to self-manage. Also can help you guys to eliminate about 80% of those calls of where's my check. And nobody likes to get them. Distractions are huge. I think studies will show that it takes 15 to 20 minutes for somebody to get back on track. So imagine the time savings that you can get just by eliminating most of those calls of where's my check and give them the ability to self-manage that process. I'm actually going to jump into the product here just a little bit, and I want to show you guys that reporting capability, and I want to show you how quickly you can actually create reports on the fly for an individual. So very quickly, I'm just doing a full search here. Now if I go back to here, these areas here within the metaviewer system are fully adaptable, so you can create them. We are role-based, so you can make decisions on what you want for individual people in your organization based on their role. I'm just going to do a full search and just search for all the documents that I have. Here's what I have in this data set for my demo purposes. But if I hit the action button up here, very quickly, I can go ahead and export information right into Excel. So right in the metaviewer system, without really doing too much, I'm going to have an Excel report. And we all know that financial people love Excel. Well, I'm not really a financial person, but I also love Excel. It's very easy to work with. I can manipulate it easily, change it. You guys know how to use Excel, but you can get that data very quickly into Excel so you can make additional decisions if you need to. Okay? The other thing when it comes to our reporting, this is the charting environment. So what I can do very quickly is I can actually create a chart based on the information that I have up on that screen. So I'm just going to call that Invoices. And then I'll do it by category. Now you can either do it by category, by sum. This is going to just add up the amount of documents you have. This is going to give you a dollar value for what you have. And we'll go ahead and go vertical bar chart there. And then I'm just going to do it by assigned to. So the individual people in my work environment, let's say I'm the manager. So I want to know if any one person has more than 6 invoices at a time. So I would save that. Go ahead and modify that real quick, and I'm going to include that on my home page and share it with other people. Now if I go back to the home page here real quick, you can see that I actually have that chart. I have the ability to drill down on that and make the appropriate decisions, change these things within the metaviewer environment. But also, if I log in as Scott here, do the same thing, create that chart here, go ahead and add a chart. It's going to pop up letting me know that a chart has already been created, and I can go ahead and add that as well. So I'm going to add this chart that Jackie created. I'll add it to my home page. This is basically letting me know that any changes I make are not going to affect anybody else's changes or their environment. Modify that. I'll just add that, include that on my home page. And I also want to, go ahead and edit it. And I don't care about the threshold as an individual contributor versus a manager, so I'm going to delete that, get rid of that modification, and then go ahead and go to my home page. And very quickly I have that as well. So, with this is really what I wanted to emphasize by showing this is the utilization very quickly. Not just can you get those documents into the system, not just can you route them around the system, not that you can push them into the ERP system, but now you can also see where they're at in the process. So you can manage your people and you can make the business decisions that maybe today in a paper-based environment, they're happening, but it's really hard to correct those when it's sort of a gut level and maybe not as specific as seeing it right there in front of you. I know for me, I'm a very tangible person, so seeing it would help me to make those additional decisions. A little background on metaviewer. So we talked about those things, what we can do, the fast track implementation, getting it done in 30 days. But a little background on the company is always nice. Metaviewer started about 30 years ago as a database company, and quickly customers started asking us about those old green bar reports and getting those into the system. So we moved into being able to store those and full text index those. Then they asked us, hey, can you distribute those out? So then we worked through a process of being able to distribute those out, and our workflow created from there. And really our organization over the 30 years has evolved by listening to the customers and the needs that they have within their organization to make sure that we're doing the right things for the customer versus just sort of going, oh, well, we're going to do this now, right? Really, we figure these things out by listening to organizations like yourselves. Located in Rochester, Minnesota, 3,500 companies worldwide have used metaviewer. Here's some of those organizations. A lot of them are big names, but nobody likes to put a name on a name recognition chart that you've never heard of. So you're going to see some larger companies out there like this. And really, that's the end, but to emphasize it, please reach out to us either at info@metafile.com or sjg@metafile.com. We'll go ahead and address your questions, get you in touch with the right people, make sure you understand the metaviewer investment that you may be looking at taking, or look at our YouTube channel or some of our on-demand presentations that we also have on our website as well. But Jason, that's what I have for today.
Great, thanks so much, Steve. Let me now bring up just one final slide with our speaker's contact information. I want to say thank you to all of you for presenting today, for telling our audience about your products, your vision. And I do want to open up the session to questions and answers right now. And you can use that Q&A block that you should see on the right side of the right panel of the screen to enter your questions. Your comments. I'm going to actually share right now just to all the attendees, if you are looking for past webcasts from this series, you can visit the link that I just posted and browse those at your convenience. And I've opened up the lines for all our panelists. We do have a question that came in. I'm going to try to paraphrase it just a bit, but Mahmoud writes in, he says, I work in the education industry. We use Dynamics AX. Our clients are paying in one of three ways, if I understand it correctly, either paying tuition fees online, through online banking. I'm not sure if that's a separate method, and then finally they can go to the finance department and the finance department will generate an invoice for them. Is there a method to generate to generate invoices between these? Oh, I'm sorry, so those are two methods. So there's the online payment and there's the invoice generated by the finance department. Is there a method to manage both methods? And why don't we start with Chint on this one, and maybe go around and get your take on a challenge like that.
Okay, and when it says method to generate invoices, I'm assuming it's talking about generating them post these payments. Is that a correct assumption here?
We'd have to have the person who asked the question maybe chime in with a little bit more definition on that, but let's assume so for the sake of answering it. Yeah.
Okay, and in that space, it really relies on the ERP that is being used here. Esker plays into the space of receiving these invoices, and now you want to be able to automate that process of getting the information from these into the ERP itself. When it comes to the upstream side, that's not the space we specialize in.
Okay, Jason?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question real quick? I was actually starting to respond on the Q&A board there.
Okay, so, and yeah, anything you see come in there, we'll open that up to everyone as well. But in terms of the question, it was an education industry business. They collect tuition both online and through invoices that their finance department prints out, I suppose. Is there a method for sort of generating invoices between these two methods? Managing both methods?
I guess I'm maybe not understanding the question.
I'm trying, and I apologize. I am trying to paraphrase it. Maybe if the person who wrote it can add a little clarification, we can come back to that one. We have another question here asking about the ease of integration for all of the products with GP 2013 or GP 13. Jason, do you want to start on this one, and we'll go back around?
Sure. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can integrate to any version of Great Plains. Obviously, our alignment with Microsoft allows us to continually test our integration capabilities. But as part of our sales process, we will actually come out and do a live integrated demo if you'd like to see our product in action with your actual deployment. Okay,
and Steve?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. We're testing consistently. For our integration specifically with GP, we're using eConnect, which is the Microsoft-specific tool for GP when it comes to the integration. But we're pulling information down. We're pushing information in there. We really do have a great integration when it comes to the GP 2013.
Great. And Chint?
Yes, that's true for Esker as well. In fact, on the Esker side, it really does not impact us, what the ERP on the other side is. Our integration interface allows us to talk with almost any ERP that you can think of.
All right, great. Please do enter your questions now. We have a few more minutes to take questions from you, and all of our presenters are happy to answer what they can. I wanted to ask one other question that I can probably open up to all of you as well. When it comes to process reengineering, how frequently is that a component of projects where you're deploying your solutions, and what recommendations would you make around preparing for process change for someone who's considering a new solution? Steve, why don't we start with you this time?
Yeah, I look at that more as just a change management, and whenever moving to something where you're used to having paper all the time, there's going to be a significant amount of change associated with that because we are textile oriented, and some people like that touchy feeling of the paperwork that's available. So, with that, it really is a sort of a top-down approach where we have to not just get management buy-in, but the individual contributors too have to sort of be a part of this process, so they're not just blindsided and all of a sudden going, hey, you have to do this. So really mentioning not just the specific changes, but the overall change management of moving to something like a document management is definitely something we're always striving to make sure is happening and make sure is going to get adopted and utilized after the fact, after it is deployed. And that's really why we moved to our fast track methodology. So we're not going, okay, what is everything that you need today? It's here's what you're going to get from the beginning. Now let's take a look at how this product is utilized today and what we need to do to make sure that it is more, adapted to your organization. But let's have them start playing with it and feeling with it as quickly and as soon as possible, so that we can make sure that it's going to get adopted very quickly in an organization.
Okay, great. Achint, do you have a view on this?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, change management is one of the things that Esker has been developing in-house expertise in, and educating our customers in that field as well. So every time Esker is working with a customer, it is something that we bring up even on the initial stage at the level of sales and sales engineering as well. And we tend to include different functions from each of our customers, including IT, business, the end users who are going to get impacted with that change, and understanding from the context that going from a manual solution to an automated solution is going to impact the people in their daily lives. It's going to impact that AP person who's sitting down on the desk and is used to doing things in a certain way. And those things get addressed. And again, with the deployment part, we combine the change management principles along with agile methodology, which allows us to deploy our solutions in small increments and allows people to use that solution. And then by using the end user feedback, we are able to develop it further, so that it's not a big bang change for somebody walking into the office the next day.
Okay, great. And Jason?
Yeah, I would echo both of those responses as well. I believe engagement of the end users and the project team is vital to any implementation of technology. Obviously, we start looking at various solutions. We have project management resources on our end that help walk through the customer each step of the way, providing best practices on AP versus HR and so forth, based on the success that we've had in those areas. Really, I think it's an education process and really be able to walk together as they go from project initiation to completion.
All right. We had a question that came in that was actually, it was specific for Achint. It was asking about offering on-premise versus SaaS versions of your products, and Achint, you answered that it's available both. But I thought that's a great question, maybe to throw open to all of you. Achint, was there anything you wanted to add on that?
Sure. I'll add a little bit to that, in that from the end user perspective, it looks no different, and the functionality is available both on cloud and on the SaaS platform. In fact, the SaaS platform is dynamic in nature, in that it allows you as a user to, in fact, start creating even custom processes if you're adept with things like JavaScript. So it really gives the user the edge to now start, looking inside their organization and seeing how they could leverage Esker for even other processes.
Okay, great. And Jason, the same question to you.
And just to clarify, the question was on the benefits between a SaaS or a perpetual.
Yeah, I think so. Are your company's products available in both approaches? And yeah, if you wanted to say anything about the benefits of, let's say, one or the other. Okay.
Yeah, our complete product line is deliverable both in a perpetual license and also a cloud-based solution. Obviously, cloud is becoming more and more popular, and we do have really starting to see our customers lean more and more that way. From a solution standpoint, it really doesn't matter to us. It really comes down most times to the customer's budget, if they have a capital budget available, or if they want to operationalize it in their expense.
Okay. And Steve, same to you.
Sorry, I'll mimic the same thing. I mean, we're available on both. So really, it's a preference of the organization. I mean, do they have the appropriate resources and the hardware, or are they looking to no longer take that on as an organization? So we want to work with you and be as flexible as possible on helping you through those decisions.
All right. Well, that concludes our list of questions for now. So I'll make maybe a very final call at this time. but we'll start wrapping up here. So Steve, Jason, and Chin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Sure.
All right. Thanks.
Great. And everyone on the line, thank you for your attention and for your questions. You have the contact information here from all our presenters. Thanks for attending, and have a great day.
Thank you.